Discover the heartwarming moment that exposed a millionaire's incredible hidden reality. Jack Collins was a man of grit and heart, a devoted father with grease-stained hands, and a smile that could brighten the gloomiest day. In the suburban haven of White Oak Ridge, the sounds of clanking tools filled his small auto shop, mingling with the laughter of his 2 kids playing in the yard. Every night, Jack would leave work behind to volunteer at the community center, fixing cars for veterans or lending a hand to neighbors in need. He was known as the local hero, the man whose unwavering dedication kept the town united with the principles of hard work and integrity. But everything changed one fateful afternoon. A torrential rainstorm swept through the town, turning streets into rivers, and causing the once tranquil creek to rear up with ferocious rage. Jack's heart dropped as he saw the devastation unfold before him. Homes submerged, businesses flooded, and panic etched on the faces of his neighbors. Fueled by determination, he rallied the community, organizing a relief effort that would bring hope back to those affected. Yet amidst the chaos, whispers began to circulate about a mysterious benefactor who had emerged with unexpected generosity. Speculation buzzed around town about this hidden millionaire, whose contributions had seemingly transformed the devastated landscape. Jack couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy mixed with admiration. Could someone with wealth truly grasp the struggles of everyday life? He shoved his frustrations down as he worked tirelessly, pulling up waterlogged carpets and clearing debris, but the nagging question lingered like smoke in his lungs. While the floodwaters receded, anticipation grew. The community gathered for news of this benevolent stranger, and Jack found himself wrestling with doubt, the realization that money could overshadow genuine kindness. As the haze of rain cleared, a moment of truth approached that would unravel everything Jack thought he knew about generosity. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The grand reveal unfolded during a community rebuild. When the elusive benefactor stood before Jack, he was stunned to see a familiar face. It was Charlie Thompson, a quiet man nobody paid much attention to, once a struggling father like Jack, barely scraping by. As they exchanged awkward pleasantries, the tension was palpable, like static electricity before a storm. Jack suddenly felt a whirlwind of emotions. The resentment flared, but so did the understanding that they were not so different after all. While they both worked side by side, the barriers of wealth and circumstance blurred. Jack learned Charlie's humble past, the sacrifices he made to create a better life for his family. It struck Jack deep. He felt the weight of his own biases crumbling. Yet uncertainty lingered. Could he find camaraderie with someone so seemingly different? As they hammered nails and coaxed laughter out of sorrow, Jack wondered if true kindness could transcend the boundaries set by wealth and struggle. Just as the community began to rally together, a powerful question emerged in the air. How would they navigate this unexpected connection? Would Jack's heart soften to the man who had crossed the chasm of wealth? Or would their paths forever remain divided by circumstance? The looming uncertainty cast a shadow, yet hope flickered brightly like the first light after a storm. The days rolled on, and the community began to find its footing once again. Laughter echoed through White Oak Ridge as families rebuilt their lives. Jack found a surprising ally in Charlie, who threw himself into every project, working as if driven by a passion Jack had never seen before. They dug into the earth side by side, sweat mixing with rainfall, and a bond forming in the crucible of healing. Jack couldn't help but admire his newfound friend's determination. Yet the twisted knot of envy still pulled at his heart. He wrestled with it while trying to open himself up to something unexpected: friendship. One sunny afternoon, as they emerged from a home they'd just finished repairing, Jack turned to Charlie. "You could just written a check, you know. Why are you out here?" The question slipped out, a mix of admiration and challenge. Jack kicked a small rock, the weight of his emotions pouring out. Charlie paused, glancing at the little park where kids played, their laughter floating on the breeze like a reminder of life beneath the shadow of their struggles. I was once like them, Jack. I couldn't afford to just watch. I want them to feel support, not just see it. Jack felt a pang in his chest. For so long, he assumed wealth meant distance from the struggles of life. Here was Charlie, embodying a different narrative, a narrative Jack was starting to understand. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Jack's children came running towards him. They tugged at his sleeves, their faces beaming with pride for the work he had been doing. "Dad, look what we made." They revealed a colorful banner that read, "Thank you, heroes." It was a simple gesture, but it struck Jack deep in his heart. In that moment, the walls he'd built around himself began to crumble. The emotional load he carried felt less heavy with Charlie at his side. For the first time, he felt a kinship that crossed invisible lines. Wasn't their purpose the same, regardless of their pasts? Both of them were providing for their families and fostering a community, both of them driven by love, despite their differences. As the days passed, Jack continued to fight against the lingering doubts in his mind. His perception of wealth began to shift. Charlie's kind heart and relentless work ethic blurred the edges of envy, revealing an opportunity for collaboration. Together, they organized a fundraiser to help recoup the losses from the floods. More hands joined the cause. Jack's friends, neighbors, and even strangers lent their support. On the day of the event, excitement buzzed in the air, tables filled with donations, laughter echoing, and a sense of community that pulled everyone together. As Jack stood at the podium, ready to speak, he spotted Charlie among the crowd. Jack's heart raced. Could he truly express the gratitude swelling inside him? Would his words do justice to the shift happening within himself? But just before he began, his voice faltered. He saw not just a benefactor in Charlie but a brother in arms, a man with the same desire to lift up their home. And yet, hidden beneath that was fear, the fear of losing what he had begun to grasp about friendship, about recognizing common humanity. "Today isn't just about rebuilding what was lost," Jack started, his voice layered with both tremor and determination. "It's about seeing each other, truly seeing one another." And as he spoke, he caught Charlie's eye, the understanding bubbling between them. But just as the crowd erupted in applause, a loud crash echoed from the community center, slicing through the warmth of the moment. Heads turned as chaos erupted. A sudden shift from hope to uncertainty. Jack's breath caught in his throat, and his heart raced. What had just happened? Would this unforeseen event threaten the fragile connections they had begun to forge? The question hung in the air, heavy with tension, darker than the clouds that had once ravaged their town. The murmur of the crowd shifted to a rush of panic, faces turning toward the community center as a small cloud of dust swirled up into the air. Jack's heart pounded under his shirt. He dropped the microphone, the words of hope he had been about to share dissolving into nothingness. "Stay calm," Charlie shouted, pushing his way through the throng. Jack followed, adrenaline surging. They had spent too long building something beautiful with their community, only for it to feel like it was tearing apart at the seams. As they neared the community center, Jack could hear people shouting, the sound sharp with fear. The once bustling atmosphere was now gripped by chaos. Children were crying and parents were yelling, searching for their little ones amid the rising confusion. A growing crowd pushed towards the front, desperate to understand what was happening. Inside, a beam had fallen, collapsing part of the roof directly onto a table where volunteers were sorting donations. Jack's stomach churned as he saw two men trapped beneath the rubble, limbs twisted awkwardly. His immediate instinct was to help. He couldn't bear the thought that something they had worked so hard to build could end in such disaster. "Call for help," he shouted as he sprinted toward the debris. "We need to lift it off them." Charlie was already there, his hands wrestling with the fallen wood. Together they began to shove aside smaller pieces, adrenaline making them reckless, their minds fueled by urgency. "Get back," a voice rang out. It was Linda, an older woman from their neighborhood, waving her arms in an attempt to clear the area. "Let the professionals handle this. Don't put yourselves in danger." But Jack couldn't stop. He refused to stand by while someone else suffered. Charlie, too, shared that fire within him. They worked as a team, hearts racing, dirt-coated hands struggling against the weight of fear and uncertainty. As they finally managed to lift one end of a broken beam, they saw the faces of the injured men. One was a local carpenter, known for helping Jack build his first home years ago. The other was a newcomer to the town, a man who had just started bringing his kids to the community park. "Hang on. We're getting you out," Jack yelled, straining against the timber. "Help!" One of the men gasped, his voice strained and laced with panic. The sight of their faces sleepy, wide with hope, now laced with terror haunted Jack. With a sudden surge of strength, the two men caught wind of nearby voices urging them on. Just a bit more. Hold on. They couldn't give up. With a combined grunt, they shifted the heavy beam to the side, revealing both men, grimy and shaken but alive. In the chaos, a siren wailed in the distance, the sound piercing through the air like a beacon of hope. "Help is coming," someone shouted, and relief rippled through the crowd. Jack's heart sank with exhaustion, but soared with gratitude as hands moved to pull the two men out. As they were secured and carried away on stretchers, Jack locked eyes with Charlie. In that brief moment of connection, each of them understood the weight of what just happened. The chaos around them narrowed down to a simple truth: they were part of something so much larger than they ever anticipated. Brotherhood, a community standing together against the tide. But the lingering thought tugged at the edges of Jack's mind: what would happen now? What if this marked a breaking point rather than a moment of union? As the first responders took over, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something bigger. The community had faced devastation together, but could they come out of it intact? He looked at Charlie, and the question hung in the air like a storm cloud: would their newfound bond be strong enough to weather this test? What lay ahead? Would they be able to hold on to the hope they had built? Or was the real struggle just beginning? It felt as if the air had changed. The thick dust lingered, mingling with fear and uncertainty. Jack stood at the center of the chaos, everything buzzing around him in a cloud of confusion. The sirens had quieted, but the loud thundering of his heart echoed in his chest. He wanted to reach for something solid, something reassuring, but the ground beneath him felt unsteady, as if it could crumble again at any moment. He glanced at Charlie, who was helping to console an elderly couple nearby. Their faces lined with worry. Jack's headache pulsed with every heartbeat. He could see the worry etched in his friend's features, mirroring his own. What now? The question weighed heavy on him like the beam they had just lifted. "Jack!" Linda shouted, breaking through the noise. She had regained control of a few people, and was directing them to pull back from the wreckage. "There's an emergency command post set up outside. We need someone to check on the children in the park." The panic cascaded into action. Jack swallowed hard. The park. He pictured the innocent laughter he had heard just moments ago, now replaced with apprehension. Without a second thought, he nodded at Charlie and started moving toward the exit. "Let us go," he shouted, urgency fueling their steps. The air outside was laden with the scent of earth and concern. Parents rushed in every direction, gathering their children, faces stained with worry. Jackson gritted his teeth. They couldn't show fear now. Their community was looking to them for strength. "Over here," a voice called out from the direction of the park. A small group of disoriented children was being guided by a few brave volunteers. Jack instinctively broke into a run toward them, with Charlie at his side. The children's faces were a canvas of confusion, tears bubbling in the corners of their wide eyes. "Hey there. You're safe now." Jack knelt down, opening his arms. "Come here." The kids hesitated at first, their instincts of caution taking hold, but slowly they approached, seeking comfort. Jack's heart cracked open as they pressed against him. He could feel their small bodies quivering. He knew then that this was what mattered most: not the collapsed building, but the resilience of hope that remained in each child's heart. Behind him, a familiar voice brought him back to the present. "Jack, we need to organize. We can't let this panic spread." It was Sarah, one of the leaders in the community. Her eyes were focused and clear, yet there was a vulnerability lingering behind them. "People need support, and we need to create a plan." Jack took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle onto his shoulders. "All right, let us gather everyone we can. We need to check for injuries, see who's missing." His voice, steady amidst the chaos, sparked a glimmer of determination in the eyes around him. As they turned to respond to the needs of their community, he couldn't shake the thought that unity was fragile, like the beam that had fallen. But within that fragility lay strength, realizing they could tether their hearts together. One of the children, a little girl with pigtails, had latched onto his leg. "Are we going to be okay, mister?" Her eyes were innocent, searching for reassurance, and in that moment he felt the weight of their community's future resting in his hands. "Yeah," he smiled down at her, masking the uncertainty churning within him. "We're all going to be okay. We're going to help each other. That's what families do." As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows that danced across the ground, a sense of purpose began to take shape. They were more than just survivors of a disaster, they were fighters, together bound by shared scars and hope. But as Jack looked around, he couldn't shake the creeping sensation that this crisis was the beginning of deeper issues. Would they truly be able to mend the fractures that would inevitably surface? The call for unity echoed through his mind as he watched groups forming, each addressing the impact of what had just happened. More than rebuilding a fallen structure was ahead. They had to rebuild trust among each other. What buried tensions would arise now that the dust had begun to settle? Would the community be ready to face the truths hidden beneath the surface? Jack felt the weight of plans swirling in the air, heavy and uncertain. He had to pull everyone into line, but where to start? His mind raced as he looked deeper into the faces surrounding him. Gripping the little girl's hand, he could sense that somehow, this moment would define their future. "All right, everyone," he called out, raising his voice to be heard above the murmur. "I need volunteers. Let us split into groups. We need to check on the kids, the elderly, and anyone who might need help." Sarah stepped forward, her brows furrowing slightly with determination. "I'll take the medical needs group. We need to find out who was in the building at the time," she said, already organizing her thoughts. "Good idea, Sarah," Jack replied. He scanned the crowd, his heart racing with urgency. "Charlie, you've got the families. Comfort them, keep them together. I don't want anyone else wandering off alone." "Got it, Jack," Charlie responded, already moving, his shoulders squared and ready for action. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the tension in the atmosphere twist into a chord of purpose. He watched as people began to rally around them, gathering supplies from the nearby emergency command post. They were starting to form a bond, their instincts kicking in to support one another. Another wave of children rushed towards him, and Jack opened his arms once more, kneeling to their level. "Hey friends, are you all okay?" he asked, his tone gentle. A little boy let out a shaky breath. "We heard a loud bang, and then we ran," he said, trembling. "I couldn't find my sister." Panic surged through Jack. "What's her name?" he asked firmly, looking into the boy's wide, scared eyes. "Lily," he exclaimed, biting his lip. "Okay. Stay here. We're going to find Lily," Jack said as he stood, keeping the boy's gaze steady. "I promise." He began scanning the crowd. Their small town had never felt so vast or so chaotic. He turned, moving quickly toward a group of parents, hoping they might have seen her. Jack's heart raced as he heard cries and gasps echoing in the air, palpable reminders of fear. Voices entwined, weaving stories of loss and uncertainty. He would do everything in his power to restore that innocence. Out of the corner of his eye, he spotted a little girl with a pink dress. Could it be? It was Lily. She stood beside a tree, looking lost and afraid. Relief flooded through him, and he sprinted toward her, calling her name. "Lily. Over here, honey." He reached her, and without hesitation, she ran into his arms. "It's okay. You're okay," he murmured, holding her tight. Jack felt her small body shaking against him, and couldn't help but let a few tears escape. He needed to be strong for her, for all of them. As he pulled back to look into her eyes, she blinked away tears. Relief mingled with a hint of worry still lingering. "Where's my brother?" she asked, her voice small and trembling. Jack's heart wrenched. He cast a quick glance back at the other kids. "Let us find him together," he promised, shielded by that fierce sense of duty that propelled him. "Can we tell my mom?" "Of course," he said, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. "Let us head back to Charlie and the others, and we'll find your brother, okay?" The chaos swirled around them. Yet in that moment of connection, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were all collectively navigating their fears, threading through the discomfort, and sharing burdens. As they began to walk back toward the heart of the commotion, Jack realized that no matter how strong the fear felt, hope flickered in every shared smile and every moment of compassion. They weren't just fighting to survive. They were laying down the bricks to rebuild their community. But as Jack led Lily back into the fray, a loud crash echoed nearby, and heads turned toward the noise, faces washed with dread. Was this disaster really behind them? Or had it only just begun? Jack froze, instinct gripping him as the crash reverberated through the air. Lily, still clutching his hand, glanced up at him with wide eyes filled with confusion. The atmosphere shifted, a heavy cloud of fear descending once more. "Let us move," he urged, squeezing her hand. They weren't far from Charlie and the flock of parents, but every step felt like they were wading through thick molasses. Just as they reached the throng, another sound sliced through the tension, a loud scream, followed by frantic chatter. "Charlie!" Jack shouted, pushing through the crowd to find him. Charlie was crouched beside a mother, whispering reassuring words into her ear. The child clung to her, sobbing softly. Jack caught Charlie's attention. "What is happening?" "There's someone trapped inside the building," Charlie said quickly, urgency sharpening his features. "Sarah's trying to help." Jack's heart sank. Danger was still thick in the air, and it seemed the chaos was refusing to settle. He glanced at Lily, her small frame trembling, and leaned in closer. "Stay by my side. We'll find your brother, and then we're going to help everyone." Before Lily could respond, the crowd erupted again, this time with more panic, voices raising, fear spilling over. "It's collapsing," someone yelled, and chaos kicked back into high gear. Jack's pulse quickened. They needed a plan, and they needed it fast. "Everyone listen up," Jack yelled, raising his voice above the noise. "We need to clear this area. Form a line. Those of you who can move, help others." With a surprising understanding, the group reacted in unison. Jack noticed the determined faces around him. Hope surged anew. People were starting to help each other, working toward a common goal. "Lily." Jack knelt beside her and looked deeply into her eyes. "I need you to wait here with Charlie and the families, all right? I'll take care of this." "No," she protested, her voice quivering. "I want to help." "I know you do," he replied, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. "But it's not safe for you here. Stay close. I'll be back. I promise." With one last reassuring squeeze, he stood and turned back toward the building, thoughts racing. Should he join Sarah? Was it safe to approach that wreckage? Memories of their laughter echoed in his mind. Couldn't afford to lose anyone else today? As he moved forward, a group of volunteers began ramming into the debris, shifting heavy beams, desperately trying to uncover whatever lay beneath. Jack joined right in, using every ounce of strength he had. Minutes felt like hours as they worked, sweat pouring down his brow. The muffled sounds of cries tugged at his heart. He pushed harder, lifting what felt like an unmovable boulder, focusing on the potential trapped inside, all while praying. Suddenly, a glimmer of movement caught his eye amid the rubble. He squinted, his heart leaping. Was that a hand? He took a breath, adrenaline coursing through him. "Over here. We've got someone." He surged forward, shouting for the others to assist him. Everyone rallied quickly, eyes widening in determination. Together, they heaved the debris aside, revealing a boy, tangled but alive, gasping for air. "Lily," Jack called out, hoping she'd respond. "We found him." A small figure darted from the crowd towards them, eyes shimmering with tears. But just as she reached him, another violent tremor rocked the ground. Dust spewed forth, and a dark dread loomed that chilled Jack's bones. Was their chance of rescue now slipping away? Jack stood frozen, pulse pounding in his ears. Would they truly make it out of this alive? The ground shook again, a menacing tremor that seemed to resonate in Jack's bones. He was rooted in place, a fierce sense of responsibility coursing through him. The boy they had uncovered lay sprawled on a bed of fallen debris, eyes wide with fear, gasping for breath. Time felt elastic. Each second stretched painfully long as panic surged around him. "Someone grab a blanket," Charlie shouted, pushing his way through the crowd. The adults around began moving frantically, searching for anything that might help. Courage ignited in Jack as he tore his gaze from the boy to Lily, who stood frozen at the edge of the crowd. "Lily, stay back," he called out, just as the tremors calmed momentarily, giving way to a brief stillness. He could see her struggling between fear and the need to be brave. Jack's heart clenched. "Don't be scared. I'm here," Lily cried out, her voice slicing through the air. Jack's instinct was to rush to her, but he couldn't let her come any closer. "You need to stay with Charlie," he shouted back, desperation edging his voice. Suddenly, the ground rumbled menacingly again. People screamed, scattering in a burst of panic, but Jack pressed on. Adrenaline surged. He couldn't hesitate, not now. He turned back to the boy, who was losing his color fast. "Stay with me," Jack urged, kneeling beside him, brushing dust from the boy's forehead. "What's your name? Can you hear me?" "Ryan," the boy whispered, his voice cracking. Jack felt a rush of warmth inside. He squeezed Ryan's hand gently. "You're going to be okay, Ryan. We're going to get you out." More volunteers gathered around, forming a small barricade against the chaos outside. They worked together, hands moving in synchronicity to clear the debris, fueled by the shared determination to save not just Ryan, but to help each person trapped in the building. Each push against heavy beams was like a reminder of their collective spirit. As they lifted another heavy piece of concrete, the weight of the situation pressed down on Jack as hard as the debris. Lily's face flashed in his mind, her trust, her fear. The stakes were higher than they had ever been. He wanted to scream for her to stay safe, and still yet here they were, risking everything to save those who had been lost. Finally, as the dust began to settle, Jack's heart raced with hope. They could see a clear passage from the rubble. "We almost got him," he shouted, rallying the volunteers around him. "On three. 1, 2, 3. The group heaved together, and with a final push, Ryan was free from the debris. Cheers erupted around them, but Jack's heart sank again when he glanced around. Lily stood frozen, her eyes wide with awe mixed with fear, tears streaming down her face. In that moment, time froze again, the joy of rescue clashing with the gruesome reality of their situation. As the crowd celebrated their small victory, the tremors returned with a vengeance, and a loud crack echoed above them. A large beam not far from where they were standing shifted dangerously, casting a shadow of dread over the scene. Everyone moved back. Jack yelled, instinct kicking in once more. But this time, his voice was drowned out by the sound of creaking wood and crumbling brick. Would this new danger snatch away their precious second chance? Jack felt a wave of terror wash over him. He had to protect Lily, Ryan, and everyone else as the ground beneath them threatened to give way. Could a miracle happen again? The ground roared beneath them. Jack's heart thundered in his chest as he sprinted toward Lily. He could see her trembling, rooted in place like a deer caught in headlights. "Lily, run!" he shouted, but as fear clutched at her, she remained still. The air filled with dust and debris as people dove for cover. Jack pushed through the crowd, his arms outstretched. Each pounding step felt weighted by the danger that loomed above. With every shake of the ground, the structure groaned ominously, threatening collapse. "Lily!" he cried again, and finally, she turned, the realization of the danger dawning in her eyes. Jack reached her just as the tremor intensified, propelling them both to the ground. Shards of debris rained down, and Jack shielded her with his body. "I've got you," he whispered, his voice steadying both her and himself. The chaos around them seemed to fade as he focused on protecting her. Lily nodded, tears glistening as she looked up at him. An explosion of noise shattered the moment as a nearby wall crumbled. "We need to get out. Now," Jack yelled, urgency fueling his voice. He grabbed her hand, pulling her up as adrenaline kicked in. Meanwhile, the volunteers, along with Ryan, still lay vulnerable. But Jack's priority was clear. He had to keep Lily safe. They darted towards a narrow opening in the rubble. Jack paused, glancing back at the crowd pouring their strength into the effort of rescue. But the reality was sinking and they were all in dire danger. The ground quaked again. Jack felt the tremor rattle through his teeth. "Stay close," he urged Lily, weaving through the broken remnants of their world. "Wait, Ryan," Lily pleaded, halting in her tracks. Jack hesitated, heart pounding. He could see Ryan was still being helped by the volunteers who had unburdened him. Yes, Jack. Lily's voice trembled, sending a jolt of fear coursing through him. With one swift glance back at Ryan, Jack hesitated. We can't leave him. I can't be left alone. Lily's eyes widened. I can't. The ground roared again, shaking violently. Jack inhaled deeply, his mind racing. Okay, just a bit further. I won't leave you. He squeezed Lily's hand, reassuring her. They pressed onward, but Jack's heart felt heavy. Every step away from Ryan felt like betrayal. He wanted to fight the chaos and save them all. But the truth was looming larger than fear, a greater threat, each pounding heartbeat. As they emerged into a slightly clearer area, Jack looked back at the building. An enormous cloud of dust billowed, hiding the people inside and swallowing the hope of rescue. The air felt dense with uncertainty, a suffocating weight bearing down on them. Lily crouched behind a dilapidated wall, her breath coming in gasps. Jack knelt beside her, searching for a glimmer of courage. Lily, listen. We did what we could, he said firmly, his voice breaking slightly. We have to find somewhere safe. But her eyes darted back, yearning for the scene where community and bravery had once thrived. What if they don't make it? What if? He felt the knot in his stomach clench tighter. He knew that pain. He shared in her fear. We have to believe that they will. Let us trust they're fighting, just like we are. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook more violently, an explosion of noise echoing through the streets. A nearby building groaned, its structure unstable. Jack grabbed Lily's arm. We need to move. Now. But as they dashed away from the chaos, something caught Jack's eye, a flicker of movement. In the haze, a figure emerged from the debris, one they had lost hope in saving. But Jack's heart sank at the thought of leaving Lily behind. Would he risk everything to save one more soul amidst the overwhelming danger? Jack's breath came in ragged gasps as he clutched Lily's hand. The flickering movement tugged at his conscience, a whisper of hope amid the destruction. Was it truly someone alive? His mind raced back to Ryan's face, pale and frightened, and the heaviness of the choice pressed hard against his heart. Jack, please. Lily's voice rose above the cacophony, pulling him back to her wide eyes, filled with desperation and fear. We need to get out of here. He looked at her, his anchor in turmoil. The quaking ground beneath them didn't wait for reflections or decisions. It demanded action. Every fiber of his being screamed to take that chance. But standing there, hounded by chaos, he felt paralyzed. Let us go. He shouted, forcing his voice to be authoritative. The wind shifted, kicking up dust and debris, making it harder to see. Whatever had caught his eye seemed to vanish from view. And Jack felt cold panic destabilize his resolve. He squeezed Lily's hand. You're right. I can't leave you. With one last glance at the shifting rubble, he pivoted away. We need to run. They raced forward, heartbeats synchronizing with each thunderous step. The world around them felt like a nightmare, screams echoing, dust swirling, the ground angered and alive. As they tore through the wreckage of a neighbor's yard, Jack could feel Lily trembling beside him. Her fear was palpable, each shudder reminding him of the vulnerability they faced. Just stay close, he urged, navigating a path through fallen branches and shattered bricks. The moment they rounded a corner, a soft thud drew Jack's gaze. Just ahead, a plank of wood shifted, revealing a small opening beneath a collapsed someone's living room. We should hide, Jack said, instinctively shoving Lily forward as he pointed, the flicker of movement still echoing in his mind. No, she shouted, yanking back. We can't. They're still in there, Jack, I know it. The resolve in her voice resonated with him. Every second spent arguing weighed them down more. Let us just take a quick look, he said, heart racing, as guilt and duty fought for superiority. But if it's too dangerous, we're out. Got it. Got it, she whispered, eyes shining with determination. They stepped closer to the opening, feeling the heat of urgency wrap around them. Jack peered in, the darkness revealing a pair of struggling hands. A suddenly familiar face emerged from the shadows, bruised but undeniably alive. Ryan! Ryan! He shouted, heart leaping against the tides of hope. Without thinking, Jack lunged forward, reaching into the gloom. Ryan's eyes widened, latching onto his arm as Jack pulled him out from the twisted remnants of a shattered home. Jack, Lily, Ryan gasped, relief flooding his voice. I thought no time. Lily interrupted, urgency painting her words. We have to get out of here. Jack released his grip on Ryan momentarily, their eyes meeting with a mixture of joy and fear. You're okay. Just keep moving. As Ryan scrambled to his feet, shaking off dust, the ground began to shudder violently once more. Jack felt a rush of adrenaline. A realization set in, this wasn't over yet. They had each other back, but how much more would they have to fight to survive? With instincts honed sharp, Jack turned back toward the escape route. Let us go, he yelled, pushing them forward, need and resolve igniting his every step. Yet, amidst their flight, a chilling sound reverberated through the air, sharp against the backdrop of chaos. It was different from before, an ominous rumble, a warning. Jack. What's happening? Lily's voice clawed at the pit of his stomach. I don't know. His voice sliced through the tense air, a stark honesty that neither could ignore. But we need to keep moving. Just then, the earth beneath them rumbled with ominous intensity, and Jack felt the floor split and buckle. Panic surged as he turned to Lily and Ryan, their faces reflecting sheer terror intermingled with determination. And then they saw it, something dark and looming rising far ahead. The threat becoming a tangible reality. It was only a matter of seconds before everything could change again. Would they escape this time, or was the worst still yet to come? The darkness roared louder than everything around them, the ground shaking beneath their feet. Jack's heart raced, a frantic drum echoing through his mind. They had each other back, but survival felt like a fleeting dream. Keep moving, he shouted, his voice barely breaking through the cacophony of chaos. Each step felt heavier, each breath more labored as the world blurred into a haze of dust and desperation. Jack clutched Lily's hand with fierce determination, and Ryan's eyes shone with fear, yet they pushed forward. Suddenly, just ahead, a massive beam creaked dangerously, tilting ominously over their path. This way. Jack pointed toward a narrow alleyway between the collapsing buildings. The crack of wood and snapping metal sent shivers up his spine, but there was no time to hesitate. They darted into the alley just as the ground shook again. Jack barely ducked as a chunk of debris fell behind them, landing where they had just been standing. Panic surged, but he kept moving, sensing the urgency deep within his bones. Lily, stay close to the wall, he called, squeezing her hand tighter. She nodded, eyes wide, resolute now despite the fear. Ryan echoed the sentiment, his small frame darting ahead with surprising speed. Ahead, the alley opened up to a clearing where volunteers scrambled, their faces a mix of fear and determination. Jack's heart lifted momentarily, but he steadied himself, urging Lily and Ryan to hurry. They needed to reach safety. Jack. Charlie's voice cut through the pandemonium. He was at the forefront with a group, organizing rescues, but the fear in his eyes mirrored Jack's own. We need to regroup. It's not safe here. Just as Charlie said it, the ground trembled again, more ferociously this time. A collective gasp rang through the crowd, and Jack felt the earth shift beneath him. We have to go now, he shouted, adrenaline propelling his body forward with urgency. Pushing through the crowd, he glanced back and saw Lily struggling to keep pace. Keep moving, Jack urged, tugging her along as Ryan flanked her other side. The dust filled their lungs as they ran, glancing over their shoulders at the destruction that loomed behind them. They reached the edge of a safe zone, and a rush of relief washed through Jack, though he refused to let it take hold. They were still in the eye of the storm. Is everyone okay? Charlie's voice rang sharp as he met them, a slight edge of panic in his features. Jack quickly scanned the surrounding faces, relief blooming as he saw familiar ones, survivors who had banded together. Where's the others? Jack asked, his voice steady, despite uncertainty tightening in his throat. Most are accounted for, but the building is crumbling. We need a way to reach those still trapped, Charlie replied, urgency lacing each word. In a blur of instinct, Jack felt the familiar knot of courage rise. I can't leave anyone behind. We must act now. Doubts mixed in with fear surged forward. Charlie nodded, rallying the group, exchanging determined glances. There was no room for hesitation. Jack felt the heat ignite in his chest as they formulated a plan, a shared sense of mission fueling their hearts. Together, They would face the dark that threatened to snuff out their hope. Before they could finalize their strategy, the thunderous crack sounded once more, sending a wave of panic crashing over the crowd. The once calm air was thick with dread. "Form a line, everyone," Jack shouted, cutting through the deafening noise of despair. "We can't let fear control us." With heartbeats synchronized, they swiftly began to organize into teams. Jack could see Lily and Ryan huddled together, their faces alight with fear yet emboldened by his call to action. "Stay here," he called over his shoulder, his heart aching to protect them. "I'll be back." As he turned toward the crumbling building, adrenaline surged through him. They would save everyone. He would not leave anyone behind. Each step felt shaky, uncertainty battling with a fierce will. The cracks snaked ever closer, and the collapsing structure moaned. Yet he pressed on, driven by the power of hope. Inside, chaos reigned. Volunteers were working to clear debris, yanking fallen beams, but screams erupted from the shadows, pleading for help. "No more hesitation. We can do this." Jack's voice thundered in the chaos, focusing the energy of those around him. As they worked together, voices entwined in camaraderie, determination surged into a torrent of shared strength. "Jack," someone cried, pointing toward a pile of rubble. "Over there." He rushed over, adrenaline coursing as he pushed aside heavy debris. Another surge of strength pushed him forward, and light re-emerged in the darkness, revealing two figures trapped beneath a fallen shelf. Jack felt his heart leap at the sight of hope. "Hang on. We're coming," he shouted, rallying everyone nearby to help. Muscles strained, hands gripped close, and soon the collapsed weight was lifted. The trapped emerged into the swirling dust, shock on their faces. "Get them to safety," Jack barked, supporting them both as they stumbled into the fresh air. Relief swept through him, fueling an urgency to rescue more. Faces crowded in the rubble still beckoned to him, muffled pleas echoing in the cacophony. "Jack." Charlie's voice cut through the din again. "Over here." Jack pushed through the remnants, and there, tangled in broken wood, was Ryan's brother, the very boy they fought so hard to save. Hope flickered brighter than ever as Jack leaped forward, hands outstretched. "Ryan, I've got you." He pulled him free, hugging him tight, the realization crashing through him like a wave. This was what mattered: family, safety, hope against despair. But just as they thought they'd achieved victory, the ground grumbled with rage. "Run," Jack shouted, the darkness threatening the fragile bonds they'd just formed. They raced for the exit, hearts pounding furiously as they burst into the open air. The sun, always there, now broke through the clouds like a promise, illuminating the dust-laden chaos around them. Everyone was alive, but it wasn't over yet. Jack wrapped Lily and Ryan in a fierce embrace, laughter mingling with tears. "You're safe. You're both okay," he exclaimed, feeling the warmth of connection stabilize him. Overhead, sirens wailed, echoing hope. They would rebuild. He could see it now. The people gathered, united against the tremors of fear. They were a family, no matter the differences that once separated them. As chaos settled, Jack took a step forward. "Together," he declared, voice strong. "We rise together. We protect one another." The crowd erupted in cheers, their spirits igniting, a tether of unity standing firm against the winds of adversity. He looked around, smiles breaking through tears, arms raised high. Hope bloomed like wildflowers through the wreckage, promising a brighter tomorrow. This was more than survival. This was rebirth. Families melded together, boundaries faded, and with each word, they forged one cohesive heart beating in sync. Jack felt a profound warmth swirling in his chest as he locked eyes with Charlie. They had crossed the divide together. Hesitations shattered as unity bloomed brighter than the sun. In that beautiful moment, hope transformed into something tangible, weaving together strands of shared humanity. They were full circles, filled with joy and resilience, ready to face the world once more together. This was the truth they had uncovered amidst the rubble. Kindness transcends, community is life, and together, they were unstoppable. Now was the moment to carry that lesson forward, to love fiercely, to hold on to hope, and to rebuild not just the town, but every heart that had grown through the storm. So let us move forward together, hand in hand, carrying the torch of kindness that illuminated so brightly that day. Love is the greatest wealth of all, and now they held it at last. And if you felt this transformation touch your heart, you need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the love spreading. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Let your voice be heard. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this uplifting transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.